Hi, so just a very quick video to take you back through the chord patterns that we did in the lesson last week. Show you a couple of different ways maybe to articulate some of the chords and play through some of the little sequences slowly to give you a better idea of how to maybe get through them if you're still struggling. And then we'll show you a couple of different ways to play the whole thing, so make it a completely different track and show you the kind of flexibility that you've got available. So we'll just play through the whole thing, both variations to start with, and then we'll go back through 2, 3, 4. Okay, so first sequence through is G, E minor, and I'm playing those with the middle two fingers, C and D. And when you play the E minor, you can also do some little hammer-ons on either of the two strings, or both at the same time. And the same with the C, D. You've got that little finger down on the 3rd fret. Lift off the middle finger to play the open E string, and back again. You can mess around with that. Back to the E minor again, C. And as you pass from the E minor, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, you're getting that open D string in the middle as a passing note. Just showing you that again, when you leave the chord after the 3rd beat to hit the next chord on the 1 beat, you've got some passing notes in there that are musically useful. It's not just going to be a horrible noise. You can take the time to release the chord and then get to the next chord. We've been banging on about that for months, so carry on doing that. So the first time through, G to G7, then C, and then a bar on the C minor, which is an A minor shape on the 3rd fret. Then back to G, E minor, A minor, D7, and then this bar chord on the G, G7, C, which I'm playing as an A bar chord, barring all 3 strings with my little finger. So G, G7, A, C, C minor, and G, and then D7. Now for the D7, I can play that D7 any number of ways. I can play it here in the usual open position, or I could play it as if you play a C7 chord, which is a C with your little finger on the 3rd string, 3rd fret to get the 7th in there. Move that whole chord up 2 frets. That's a D7 chord, so you could play it there. Or you could take the top part of that, just the 3 little fingers up here, and just play those 3 strings. Play those with your first 3 fingers. So basically what you're doing is you're finding the root note, the D note, on the A string, here on the 5th fret, and then you're playing the 4th string on the 4th fret, and then you're playing the 3rd string on the 5th fret. It's a really useful little triad there. Now you're strumming only those 2 strings, so the 3rd finger here kind of leans back on the 2nd string to kill it off. So you get that little triad in there. So you can play that D7 that way, or you could play the D7 that way, which is a 7 shape. So you're playing the 7th fret, 2nd string with your little finger, and you're playing the 7th fret, 4th string with your 3rd finger, and then you're barring on the 5th fret. So any number of ways to play that D7. Okay, so then we get to the second time round, same thing. Now, second time round, instead of playing the G7 and then the C and the C minor, second time round we're going to play G, B7. Now B7 is 5th string 2nd fret, 4th string 1st fret, 3rd string 2nd fret, and 1st string 2nd fret. Looks exactly like that little D7 triad we talked about a little bit ago. You've got the root on the A string, which is the B note, and that little triad in there. You can just play those 3 notes, or you can add in the little finger and play the whole thing. Okay, so we've got G, B7, C, and then C sharp diminished 7th. So where you are on the C chord, you've got you find the root on the 2nd string with your 2nd finger, so the C sharp on the 2nd string, and then you put your 1st finger on the 4th string on the 2nd fret, your 3rd finger on the 3rd string, 3rd fret, so you're making what looks like a D shape but 1 string higher, and then your little finger goes down on the 3rd fret on the 1st string. Lovely little chord. So from the G to the B7, C, C sharp diminished 7. Then G, this time around instead of an E minor we're going to an E major, to an A7, to a D7. If you look at the way I've played those, I'm playing the E, these 2 fingers here then just fall to the A7. I don't turn around like that, just try and be as economical as possible. A7, D7, and then the same turnaround as before. G, G7, C, C minor, G, D7. Okay? You could play that turnaround open chords. G, G7, C. You have to bar the C minor and back to the G. You could do it that way. It's much easier if you do it that way. And the other reason for that is if you happen to be playing in the key of B flat and you want to play the same turnaround, you can do that in any key you want. Standard shape, just move it up and down the fretboard. So that's the basic run through. The chords should remind you what we did in the lesson, remind you what you've got on the chord sheet that I've given you. The other variations then, how do you go about turning this? And I'm playing this as a straight sort of shuffly, kind of bluesy. Yeah, I could play it as a slow blues. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just double the length of everything. I could do it in the same sort of time, 1 bar of each. And what I'm doing there is I'm strumming by hitting the root notes, the bottom notes sort of, and then the whole string, the whole 6 strings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And as I'm hitting the whole string, I'm dropping my palm down onto the back end of the strings to kind of mute them and kill them and get that kind of percussive sound going. So. Okay. Another Another way to do it would be just a simple finger style sort of picking thing. And you'll notice on the picking, I'm still picking up and down, up and down, up and down, as though I was strumming, but I'm just picking individual notes and moving my hand up and down so that I'm reaching from the low strings to the high strings. So does it really matter which strings I'm picking? Not really. I just need to pick the important ones to make sure that I'm getting the... So if I'm playing the C minor, I've got to pick the second string at some point to make sure that I've got that minor in there. If I'm playing the G7, I've got to pick the first string at some point to make it clear to everybody that I'm playing a G7. B7, C. Now if I'm going to do that for the diminished chord, because I'm only playing the 4 strings, I've got to make sure that I'm only picking the 4 strings, because the bottom 2 strings aren't really part of that chord. So just need to be a little bit careful, but not terribly accurate. Different sort of approach. So you can play it any number of ways. You can play the chords in any number of positions. So when you're practicing it, vary it up. Don't learn one way to play it and then learn a different way to play it. Choose to play a G bar chord instead of open chords. Choose to play the C bar chords instead of open chords. When you get to the B7 section, for example, G to B7, instead of doing that, you could always play a B7 up here, which is the E7 shape with the bar on the 7th fret, the B note here. So that, if you slide up to it, it sounds quite jazzy. Or you could play the B7 back here, which is an A7 shape with the bar on the 2nd fret. C is right there and the C minor right beside it, or the C sharp diminished right beside it. So vary it up. Once you've learned to play it one way, choose a couple of chords to change and play it a different way, and then build on that, and then choose a couple of different chords, play it a different way, and then build on that. It's a really useful chord progression because there's a lot of things to listen out for, particularly the differences between the G, E minor, A minor, D7 and the G, E, A7, D7. Those sound completely different and they have a different feel even though they're based on very similar chords. So have a listen to it, make sure you're listening to what you're doing when you're playing and hearing the effect that you're having by playing the different chords, and enjoy. Thanks very much.